All right, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Chuck. This is Chuck Guglielmo, and today we're going to talk a little bit of wrestling. I have Matt Bidwell, the Conneaut High School Spartans wrestling coach. Matt, how you doing tonight?
Good.
Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
Vacation now, right?
Yeah,
A couple weeks.
as of Friday.
Wrestling matches during the break.
We actually have Grand Valley tomorrow at Grand Valley, and then next Tuesday we go to Girardi.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the schedule. I'll do that a little bit later on. Let's start with you personally. First of all, you teach in the Conneaut school system. You're now at the high school, you told me before we came on the air. What do you teach there? What grade levels?
I have mostly juniors. I teach Algebra 2, Bridge to Algebra 2, Pre-Calculus, and an Advanced Algebra 2 class.
So a lot of math.
Yes.
Great math background. And prior to that, you were at the middle school for some time?
Yeah, I spent a year at the middle school.
And were you in the math field over there as well?
Yep, Algebra 1 and Math 3.
So you've been a teacher for roughly about 6 years?
Yeah, this is my 7th year.
7th year teaching here in Conneaut. Very good. Like I said, Matt is the wrestling coach for the Conneaut Spartans. You were a wrestler, I believe also a football player, and
That's right.
you also coach middle school football
Yes.
for the Spartans. 7th grade, 8th grade?
We do. Yeah, both. There's not really a 7th grade coach and an 8th grade coach. Me and Greg Woods.
Being a wrestling coach, what experience do you think is needed to be a solid high school wrestling coach? Now, you were a wrestler. Do you think you have to be a wrestler to be a solid high school coach, to understand the sport?
I think it definitely helps to have an understanding of how everything works. A lot of people don't really understand wrestling. So,
Who assists you? Who helps you wrestle?
I actually have an awesome staff this year. Tyler Rice is the varsity assistant. Jason Dalton's the middle school coach. And then I have Matt and Gary Tintari, both volunteer. They come in when they have time in their schedule to help out. So
That is great to have all that assistant help with you. Do you have a medical staff?
Monica Brown's the trainer. She's on medical leave right now, though, until January. So there's a trainer that comes in from, I think she's from Erie, but she's only in once a week, and I'm not sure what her name is.
I don't know too much about wrestling, but I did catch the wrestling match you guys played against Northwestern on this channel, Cat TV, and it seems interesting. So I'm going to start getting a little bit more involved with the wrestling matches. How do you prepare your wrestlers in the off season as far as conditioning and training?
In the off season, the past few years I've tried to take them to a camp. 2 years ago we went down to Urbana, Ohio. The high school down there actually has won a state championship the past, I think it's like 15 or 16 years running now. This past season we went over to Edinburgh, and if you don't know anything about wrestling, Edinburgh, even though I think they're Division II in everything except for wrestling, they're Division I in wrestling, and they were number 3 in the country last year.
So very good wrestling university.
Oh yeah, extreme, and it's because it's such a small university. It's funny that it is so successful. But yeah, I do open mats throughout the summer. We'll go to that camp. We try to get kids in there lifting if they're not playing other sports.
Now, do we have a middle school wrestling program in Conneaut?
Yes.
And who heads that?
That's Jason Dalton.
Jason Dalton. Okay. Very good. What drills do you work on in practice?
Oh, we'll go through a warm-up, like a calisthenic type stretching stuff, a little bit of running, and we'll get into, I call them muscle memory drills, just where they work setups on how they're going to take down, their opponent. Then we'll go into their takedowns and then their turns, and go through some bottom moves and escapes, and we'll do a little bit of actual live wrestling.
Do you consider your team a veteran team or kind of a young team?
I would say we're probably right in between. We've only got 2 seniors this year. Both are very solid wrestlers, and then junior class we're right in the middle. So,
How many hours is a practice, or do they vary?
They vary. I usually start out the year going about 2.5 to 3 hours, just because there's a lot of stuff I have to show. And as the year goes on, I kind of take them down to about an hour and a half to 2 hours, because we just, we get in and do what we need to do and get out.
How many matches did the Spartans have this year?
I honestly don't know. It's the scheduling's based on points, and depending on the type of match we go to, different kinds of matches cost different amounts of points.
Now explain that to me, I don't know what you mean by it, it's based on points.
Okay, so we have 20 points to work with, and we can do a dual match or a tri match. They're allowed to wrestle 2 times in a day, and that costs 1 point. We can do we call them quads or super quads, where the kids can wrestle up to 5 times in a day, and those cost 2 points. Or you can do an overnight tournament where they can wrestle up to 10 times in 2 days, and those cost 3 points. So
Okay.
it's kind of a mix between all those
Mm-hmm.
to give you an exact number of matches. Usually each kid gets around, I would say, between 40 and 50 matches throughout the course of the season.
Wow. And most of your matches are away. You don't have very few at Garcia Gymnasium, and that's always been the case. Why is that?
A lot of it is, a lot of it's not being in a league. Because of those, from a coach's standpoint, we want to get the kids as many matches as they can before sectionals, districts, and states. So we can get them more matches for less points if we go to those big tournaments. The state requires that you have at least 4 of those 1-point duels or tries, which is something that Garcia Gymnasium can accommodate. But the schools that are in leagues, they fill those with their league obligations, and then they go other places. So it's kind of hard to get people to want to do those.
Now, with you being a wrestler, and I know Tyler was also a wrestler, at least I'm almost
Yeah.
sure he was a wrestler. Does that help? Are you able to motivate? Do you have to motivate the wrestlers on your team?
Oh yeah.
And how do you go about motivating? You use yourself as an example, or Tyler?
Yeah, all the coaches will get in there and wrestle with the kids throughout, at some time or another, throughout the practices. For whatever reason, they always try to wrestle us harder than they wrestle each other, it seems like. But that does pick up the room a lot. We just try to...
Now, they couldn't beat you, could they? Matt Bidwell, Conneaut Spartan wrestling coach, is my guest here and around the town with Chuck. What about expectations? Do you have those for your wrestlers? What do you expect from them?
I always expect, in a general sense, I always expect them to just go out there and give everything they have. It's, the ultimate goal is winning, but at the same time, as long as they go out there and put forth the effort that we know that they should be putting forth, we're usually pretty happy with them. With the team we have this year, though, our expectations are pretty high as far as where we see ourselves going.
I know recently you were in a Columbiana tournament
Yes.
where you finished 3rd out of 14 participants. You have to be excited about that.
Yeah, we actually had, there's 14 spots, 14 varsity spots, weight classes, and we only had 11 varsity kids wrestling and scoring for us. Of the 11, 8 of them placed in the top 6, which was
That's
awesome.
outstanding, yeah, that's outstanding. Many moons ago, when I was in school, usually if you were a wrestler, you also played football. But I noticed, looking at your roster, that's not necessarily the case anymore.
There are a lot of kids that don't do both.
Mm-hmm.
I actually encourage them, if they're not going to focus on just wrestling. I think football and wrestling go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of similarities, and I think wrestling makes kids better football players, and football makes kids better wrestlers.
Yeah, I agree with that. You have some of your wrestlers that play other sports, like soccer or basketball,
I do have,
or they can't play basketball.
Yeah, there's a couple soccer kids on the team. Some kids do track or baseball in the springtime.
Tell me, what is the hardest thing about wrestling?
Probably the self-discipline and the fact that it's just you out there. It's not, not that you can't really blame anybody else. You go out there and it's just you versus the other guy. And, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it as far as how hard you have to work in and day out in practice, and I think working hard builds that confidence that you need when you go out there. Also the weight. Kids have to watch their weight because they have to be under a certain weight. Yeah, wrestling is a totally different type of sport.
That's what I want to get into a little bit later in this interview. I want to go over the roster and the different weight classes and all that stuff. What do they mean by cutting weight? What is cutting weight?
It's not as unhealthy as it once was. So there's 14 weight classes, and in order to wrestle in a specific weight class, you have to weigh that weight or less.
Can't be 1 pound over or nothing?
Can't be 1/10 of a pound over.
Wow. Wow. That's what creates a lot of these forfeits that you see.
Yes.
Some schools can't supply that wrestler with that particular weight.
Exactly. They are all, because I get a lot of people, I mean, even people I went to school, because when I was in school there were no regulations, so it was whatever, however much you wanted to drop, you could. Now they get assessed by a medical professional. Their body fat gets tested and their hydration level gets tested, and then I get a printout that says what their body fat percentage is and how much they're allowed to lose, I mean, each day, where they're supposed to be. And they're not allowed to wrestle certain weight classes until after certain dates. So it's trying to promote a healthy way to lose the weight.
Coaching, do you ever get the urge that you want to go out there and wrestle yourself still?
Absolutely.
I think you can still do it. At the old age to me of 28.
That's, yeah.
What would it be against an 18-year-old, or would you want to wrestle a 28-year-old?
I'd rather wrestle with an 18-year-old.
How do you measure success? From an individual wrestler, or team, as a team as a whole?
Honestly, with wrestling though, it is, I think it's more or less focused on individual wrestlers, just because there's so many different. I mean, we've got kids on the team that have wrestled for 12 years, and I've got kids on the team that this is their first year ever wrestling. As far as what I look for is a gauge of success is watching the kids grow. You know, how they are at day one versus the end of the year, what they pick up and how they progress as wrestlers.
Has there ever been a high school wrestler under 100 pounds?
Yeah. The lowest weight class is actually 106. So I'm trying to think. I don't know if we've had one since I've been coaching but they're allowed to weigh anything. As long as they're under 106, they're allowed to wrestle.
And as high as
285 is the highest.
280, and that would be
Heavyweight, yeah.
Pre-game rituals, do you have those?
For the dual type matches, yeah, we'll go through the same warm up that we do at practice that I was talking about, the drilling stuff, and then we'll go out and Mr. Simpson does a good job of lining the kids up by weight and announces everybody. They go out to the middle and shake hands and that kind of stuff.
Does I know the football team, the basketball team, they have booster clubs. Does the wrestling team have? I remember one time we had something called the Mat Club.
Yeah, we still have the Mat Club.
And how does that benefit you? What do they do to help you guys?
They make my life a lot easier.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. No, they help out. I mean, we sit down and we'll brainstorm fundraisers. We do the big one we usually do is a hoagie sale once a month.
I have bought them. They're very good.
We try. But they help out with that. They organize the fundraisers. We'll do stuff every so often in the summer. We've been trying to get a barbecue thing going down at the Moose. Weather hasn't. The last year the weather didn't cooperate very well with us, but I think that's something that'll be successful in the future.
So they're a big benefit for the
absolutely.
wrestling team and stuff. Do they provide any team dinners like the Downtown Coaches Club and that stuff?
They not quite on the same level as far as us sitting down, but we'll go to those overnight tournaments and they'll pay for us. I mean, they cover the hotel costs, they cover the meals for the kids, and some matches I'll get like apples or granola bars or something for the kids to eat after they weigh in. That's all provided by the MAC Club. Since I've been coaching, they've bought us new warm-ups. They've covered the singlets that we wear. I mean, they've all kinds of stuff. They buy shirts for the team every year, so they're.
Have you ever had to discipline for whatever reasons?
Oh, yeah. Wrestlers, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fan support, what's that like at wrestling matches?
There are some loyal fans. It's like I said, a lot of people don't really understand the sport, and I understand that it's difficult to watch it if you don't understand it. But the people that do understand it, we have a decent following. I'd like to see a bigger following.
Mm-hmm.
But
How about the travel? Now, we were talking a little bit about all the away matches. How does all that traveling affect the wrestlers, or doesn't it affect them at all, in your opinion? Or even when you played, did it ever affect you doing all that traveling?
Honestly, I think you just get used to it. It's part of the sport. Even, when they start, the kids that did start down in Cougars, they go to Madison every Sunday, or they'll go to tournaments all over the place. This past year, we've actually been able to host a tournament at Conneaut. We've done 2 so far, which is nice that they don't have to travel. But yeah, it just comes with the sport.
Okay, let's get inside the sport a little bit now. You can win by a pin, you can win by a decision, and you can win by a forfeit. Is there any other way you can win?
You can win by a major decision and a technical foul.
I'll do those 2. A major decision and a technical foul. Define for me a technical.
If you at some point get up by 15 points or more, it's like a mercy rule.
Mm-hmm.
The ref will stop the match when you get a 15-point lead, and you just win.
Are there like 3 periods with about 2 to 3 minutes each?
There's 3. At the high school level, it's 3 2-minute periods.
3 2-minute periods. You feel that's a good length
Yeah.
of time?
Mm-hmm.
And a decision, of course, is based on points. Who decides how many points there is in a decision? Do you have official scorers?
There's one referee. You can score points by taking your opponent down and getting control of them. That's 2 points. If you get an escape, that's 1 point. If you get a reversal, which means someone has control of you and then you turn around and get control of them, that's 2 points. You can get back points, and then there are penalty points too.
Now, in basketball, a coach can constantly argue with an official. Is there discrepancies there where sometimes you gotta, go to the official and say, what are you doing?
You can, yeah. Yeah, you can request a conference and meet at that. There's usually a head table. If you walk out during a break in the action, and he'll come over and talk to you, and you can question his call.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get into some of your roster. I know some of the kids, and then when I'm all done with these, and then you can mention some of them, because I don't want to slight anybody here.
Oh, that's fine.
But in your 126 weight class, we have Justin Mason. I think he was one of the winners down in Columbiana.
Yeah, he was. He's actually at 145.
145,
I think he got
okay.
the weight. 126 is Kevin Kidwell.
Okay, so I got him backwards there.
Mhm.
So, talk a little bit about Justin Mason. Young guy, senior, junior? What is he?
Justin is a junior.
Mhm.
He's a very, very hard-working kid. He's one of the ones that has been wrestling. He came up through the Cougar program.
Mhm. Is he undefeated?
Right now, yes. I think he's 10-0.
Okay. I'm trying to keep track of them, and they're not always in the paper sometimes, the results of your games and stuff. Kevin Kidwell, now, I know he's also recorded a pin down in Columbiana.
Yeah, I think he's also, I want to say he's 10-0. Might be
Wow.
9-0. But Justin and Kevin are two undefeated kids. And I think Kevin's pinned everybody except for one.
That's
He's
amazing.
wrestled.
And a pin now is you gotta have somebody down on their back for what, 5 seconds?
As
or
soon as
something?
both shoulder blades touch, that's it.
And the referee, as I was watching on TV, he gets down right there on that mat too,
Mhm.
doesn't he?
Yeah.
I found it very interesting. How about a Dustin Bradbury? Now, I got him at 138, you can correct me.
Dustin has been wrestling at 138. He will probably end up at 132, maybe 126, we'll see. He is,
So it can change as the season goes on?
yeah, that assessment that we get, I'm trying to think of an example. Justin actually would be a good example. I think when he weighed in, he was 147. which made him eligible for the 152 weight class. But then after so many weeks, he was allowed to drop to 145. And then after so many weeks, he was allowed to eventually he can get down to 138, but he's not allowed to go below that.
What did you wrestle at?
145.
145, okay. Nick Hall, I got him at 113.
Yes. Nick's a freshman. Nick's a very solid wrestler for a freshman. As he starts to mature, he's going to win a lot. He's going to have a very successful career.
You got some young wrestlers coming up as well. Then Deshaun Taylor, I've heard that name before. Is he on the football team?
Yes.
Okay. I got him at 170.
Yep. Yeah, he's a good wrestler too. I think it's his third year. He started when he was in 8th grade, and like I said, just the progress from 8th grade to now, the improvements there. He's very solid for us.
Mm-hmm. Hunter Burdick at 152.
Yep. Hunter's also a good kid.
Is he senior?
No, he's only a sophomore.
Only sophomore.
Deshaun's a sophomore too. Yeah, Hunter will be a very good wrestler too. He placed 4th down at Columbia.
That's great. Another football name I recognize is Isaiah Narangas, 132.
Yes.
Good kid.
Yeah, very
Good kid.
Yeah, very good athlete, nice kid. Yeah, I think he's 8-2 right now. And the 2 matches that he lost were very, very close matches too. And he was a state qualifier as a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I got you with a heavyweight guy named Chance Woodworth or something like that?
Yes.
Heavyweight?
He was a football player
one
too.
Heavyweight?
We have, yeah, I mean, you can only have the one varsity guy, and chances are he's the one that won the wrestle off. We also have Kevin Anger and Matt Snyder at heavyweight also.
Okay, so now take me through a wrestling match once again here. Each is 2 minutes or 3 minutes?
It's
What
3
did you say?
2-minute long periods. So it's a total of 6 minutes.
6 minutes for, no matter what the weight class is?
Right, well, unless there's a pin or a
Okay.
technical fall, yes.
And do you know ahead of time going into a match if there's going to be any forfeits?
On my end or the other team's end?
Your end?
Yeah.
You know if you're going to have a win by a forfeit?
Yes, usually.
So tell me a little bit more about, we'll get away from wrestling now. Tell me a little bit more about your teaching career, because is that something that you wanted to be in high school, or is that something?
Yeah, actually, I think I decided I want to be a teacher probably when I was a junior in high school, just based on, the teachers that I had had.
And how did they get it right here in your hometown?
Yeah, I was very, very fortunate. Right out of college, I got
Yeah.
hired here.
That's great. And you're at Conneaut High School now doing that.
Yes.
And your brother Mitch, is it?
Yes.
And is he in Conneaut?
He is.
Give me a little update on him. I also have him too. What's he, about 25 now?
He is 25.
Boy.
Unfortunately, he's at Edgewood.
He is.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll end that conversation right now. No, I'm just kidding. And he's a coach over there?
He teaches, and that was when he graduated college, he was the middle school coach here with me. And he subbed in the Conneaut district. And Edgewood offered him a teaching job the following year, but they wanted him to coach too, so he left us.
I think their principal over there is from Conneaut too, Timothy
Yes.
Neal. Wasn't he a wrestler?
He might have been, actually. I know he's a football player.
Yeah. Conneaut's had some good wrestlers in the past. I can remember some, you probably don't even know, the Titty Boy.
Oh, yeah.
He was a great
Mark,
wrestler.
very good
Mitrovic
wrestler.
comes to mind. Give me some other names here.
Tim Stutzman, who's now doing the Cougars, was a good wrestler.
Yeah.
Back in I can't remember what year it was, 82, I think. Doug Bruno won the state championship.
Oh, how could I forget him? What about the Ted Tarians? Did they wrestle?
Oh, yeah. Matt was a state qualifier. Gary, very good wrestler, too. And both those are on, they help me coach now, which is awesome.
Matt, you played wrestling and you played football. What did you like better?
I
Don't say both. I want you to pick one and then tell me why.
Honestly, originally I liked football better. And then when I started wrestling, I think by the time I was, into it, I kind of switched and I enjoyed wrestling.
Who were your coaches?
For wrestling, and I started in 7th grade, so it was Mark Mark Cameron and Fred Panito.
And Freddie?
And then my freshman year in high school, it was Mike Tranco and Pat Sanford. And then the next 3 years, it was Ron Williams and Dave Brzezinski.
Okay, now one of those guys, he was a great wrestler too, Dave Brzezinski.
So was Ron.
Now, do you try to take any coaching techniques from those guys?
I'm sure I had a little bit of everything, yeah, I mean.
What are some of the things you think you picked up from them?
Oh, I had just I mean, from, I don't really know.
I get it.
That's a good question.
No, I know. Well, Matt, I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
You did a great job, and I want to wish you the best of luck. Do you have another home match this year?
We'll wrestle Edgewood and PV on, it's a Saturday, I think near, at the end of January, I can't remember the exact
At the
date.
Garcia Gymnasium, Edgewood in town. That's always a big rivalry, no matter what the sport is,
Oh, yeah.
as you know.
Especially my brother's coaching.
Oh, yeah, I may have to make that. You don't know the exact date, huh?
Not off the top of my head, I'd have to look at our schedule. I think, I want to say like the 27th or something.
What's that going to be like going up against Mitch?
We had to do it last year too.
And who won?
They did win last year.
Oh, so it's time to get even.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
You don't want him to get a 2-0 edge. All right, Matt, thanks again.
Yep.
Appreciate you coming on. That was Matt Bidwell, wrestling coach for the Conneaut High School Spartans. And we'll see you next week with another edition of Around the Town with Chuck.